Students, welcome to the new class once again. This is Dr. Sanjana Sharma from the Department of English. In our last class, we started the essay on the pleasures of no longer being very young by the famous British essayist G.K. Chesterton. Today we will continue this essay. I would like to say one thing, that when you watch this video, you should keep the book open. The book that we had in our BA part 1, it also contains the essays of second year as well. So you should keep the book open before your eyes, so that while I am going through the essay, while I am giving a textual analysis of this essay, you too can go through the lines or the text of the essay. So let us begin for today. It is a great fun to find out that the word has not repeated proverbs because they are proverbial, but because they are practical. So essay says that, like old days, when we are old, we find that institutions, traditions, they are necessary. They are significant. They are not dead. They are not outdated. So now he is emphasizing on this point that in our daily life we use proverbs because they are the gist of the experience of the common people. People have experienced those things. People have gone through those situations, and then they coined phrases on those situations, on those circumstances, and they are useful, and that's why we use these proverbs in our daily conversation. Until I owned a dog, I never knew what is meant by the proverb about letting a sleeping dog lie, or the fable about the dog in the manger. Now those dead phrases are quite alive to me, for they are parts of a perfectly practical psychology. So he gives us examples from those phrases that he came to realize only then when he himself owned a dog. So he gives us the example of first proverb, letting a sleeping dog lie. It means it is used to warn someone that they shouldn't discuss, they shouldn't speak about those bad, hard situations that most of people have forgotten about. And the second phrase which he uses in the essay is the dog in the manger. It is used for those people who possess something. Now this thing is no more useful for them now, but they don't allow others to use this thing because they are selfish. So due to their selfishness, they don't allow others to use that thing which is no more useful for them and which could be useful, which could prove useful to other people. I had no notion of the meaning of the maxim, it's an ill wind that blows nobody good. Now it seems to me as pertinent and even pungent as if it were a new remark just to made to me by a neighbor at the garden gate. And he uses another proverb, which is, it is an ill wind that blows nobody good. What is the meaning of this proverb? This proverb means that when something disastrous, something bad has happened, it could be to some extent useful to some people. To someone, this situation could prove useful, though it is disastrous for the person with whom this thing has happened. It is something to come to live in a world of living and significant things instead of dead and unmeaning things. And it is youth in revolt, even in righteous revolt, which sees its surroundings as dead and unmeaning. What happens when we are in our youthful age, whenever we are in our 20s and 30s? What do we feel? What do we feel? We feel that these maxims, these sayings, these proverbs, they are outdated. They are not necessary. They are useless. Why should I use them in my conversation? But as we advance in our life, we realize that they are true. So, in our youth, what do? We try to discard them. We revolt against these things. And we think that while revolting against these things, we are morally and ethically correct. And it is youth in revolt, even in righteous revolt, which sees its surroundings as dead and unmeaning. It is old age and even second childhood that has come to see that everything means something and that life itself has never died. But as we advance in our life, when we are in our 50s, 60s, and 70s of our life, that is also called a second childhood, then what happens? Then we realize that those things which we tried to tag as dead, unmeaning, useless, they are very much useless. They are very much useful in our life. And we start seeing meaning in insignificant thing. We find a message, a very useful message in those things which we had tagged useless. For instance, we have just seen a staggering turn of the wheel of fortune which has brought all the modern material pride and prosperity to a standstill. Students, this essay was written when the world was suffering from an economic depression after the First World War. After the First World War, in late 20s and early 30s, the whole world experienced an economic depression. Just in the same way, we are feeling the whole world is experiencing it during the time of the COVID. We can correlate this experience. What is happening now? The economic progress has come to a somewhat, it has become standstill, or the growth is very slow. Economic growth is very slow. The same happened about exactly 100 years ago. So the world faced economic depression in 1920s and in 1930s. So now Chesterton gives us an example of the significance of the things that were thought to be insignificant 100 years ago, but they were very much relevant. So what happened? For instance, we have just seen a staggering turn of the wheel of fortune which has brought all the modern material pride and prosperity to a standstill. So the economic depression of the early 19th century, it halted the prosperity of the people, and the pride that they felt in being prosperous, in being rich, that was no more with them. America, which a year or two ago seemed to have become one vast Eldorado studded with cities of gold, is almost as much embarrassed as England, and really much more embarrassed than Ireland. Eldorado. What is the meaning of Eldorado? Eldorado is a Spanish phrase and it means land of gold. So, prior to 1920, America was making a great progress in the field of industry, in the field of economy, and it was getting richer and richer every year. And it appeared that its cities, they were made of gold. How they were made of gold? As we all know about Ramayana and the Lanka of the demon king Ravan, Tulsidas ji has written that Lanka was made of gold. It means that it was a very prosperous land. People were very rich. In the same way, this America, it kept making progress in the field of industry and business. But what happened after the First World War? After the First World War,